Having been rumored now for quite some time, it is still unfortunate that The Last of Us Part 1, a remake for The Last of Us on PS5, has been officially revealed in a high-quality trailer leak. This, along with a confirmation of a special Firefly Edition players can also purchase, is clear enough evidence that the game does exist. Rather, while rumors about The Last of Us Part 1 remake were partially correct, there is a caveat to it that earlier rumors may have been relatively inaccurate about. There is a fine line between remaster and remake, particularly in how The Last of Us Part 1 is being built. Gameplay and visuals will see a complete ground-up overhaul, which will effectively make The Last of Us look and play more comparably to The Last of Us 2. This will ultimately modernize both titles and make the predecessor more like the sequel, and that alone could be considered a remake. However, based on the trailer, The Last of Us Part 1 will not feature new scenes or any reimaginings. In terms of what definitively makes The Last of Us Part 1 a remake, gameplay is of paramount concern. It is easy enough to presume that The Last of Us Part 1 will now have the same exploration, traversal, combat, and stealth as The Last of Us 2, which means that it may even include prone position crawling for sneaky access underneath vehicles and other areas. Players may also see the return of magazine catalogs that unlock new skill tree branches for Joel and Ellie, rather than simply upgrading a single tree of upgrades with nondescript supplement pills. The workbench will likely be reprised with impeccable detail on Last of Us characters' firearms and animations, and players can hopefully expect to see more creative ways to traverse the environment. For example, The Last of Us 2 introduced the mechanic of rappelling and re-engineered leaps from one platform to another to be more effective, which will undoubtedly have a beneficial effect on traversal in The Last of Us Part 1. These details in gameplay surely earn The Last of Us Part 1 the billing of a remake, especially if the game is completely reoriented around these mechanics and how they may alter certain sequences from the original game. New AI systems for graphical fidelity and facial animation tracking are also implemented, instilling that sense of a remake in terms of how much new detail will be introduced. Working from the ground up, these changes will certainly make the experience feel new for both old and new players. It was previously believed that it may reinterpret narrative contexts in order to supply more perspective for certain characters, and while that may still be the case in some instances, it does not seem as if The Last of Us Part 1 will be making any changes to its cutscenes or narrative. This is likely so that Naughty Dog could keep all of The Last of Us original voice lines intact, and the idea of a narrative reimagining may have never even been a concept that it wanted to explore. Instead, The Last of Us Part 1 will be a fantastic way to return to The Last of Us with contemporary visuals and gameplay on PS5. Now, it is more apparent that the remake aspect pertains to gameplay specifically, and not necessarily the game's narrative. Still, whether a remaster or a remake, fans are surely excited to have a reason to return to Naughty Dog's post-apocalyptic world and see Joel and Ellie in a full visual and gameplay overhaul on PS5. Shortly after debuting The Last of Us PS5 remake trailer, images were shown comparing the remake's graphics to that of the 2014 Last of Us remastered. For the comparison photos, Naughty Dog used scenes of Ellie and Joel, the protagonists of the original Last of Us game. The improvements are obvious right away, with the new versions of Ellie and Joel far more detailed and realistic looking than their 2014 counterparts. These visual improvements seem to extend to all facets of The Last of Us on PS5. The Last of Us PS5 remake release date is slated for September 2nd. However, it was also announced that the game is in development for PC as well. The PC version of The Last of Us Part 1 did not get a release date announcement just yet, but we do know that it will be launching at some point after the PS5 version. Based on how Uncharted: The Legacy of Thieves Collection PC version has been handled, it's likely that PC gamers will have to wait quite a few months to get their hands on the game, though nothing specific has been announced at this time. While the reveal trailer for The Last of Us Part 1 prioritizes cutscenes over raw gameplay, it does feature an in-game moment from early in the story where Joel is tackled by a clicker. Perhaps the most obvious example of the differences between the two versions of The Last of Us, the changes are night and day when looking at the old and new clicker models. Muddy textures are present all over the old clicker, with far less detail visible as well. The creature's mouth is hard to distinguish, and the fungus that covers it lacks any small touches. In the remake, there is a stunning amount of work done to make this clicker look particularly great, and all of it is more noticeable due to better lighting effects. From smaller mushroom heads on the clicker's arm to the one atop its head having multiple layers, gamers can rest assured that the remake will provide enemies that look as good as the human characters. After Joel and Ellie meet Bill and leave his town, a memorable sequence plays out with the two protagonists sitting together in a car. After a funny conversation where Ellie cracks jokes about one of Bill's dirty magazines, a beautiful shot of Ellie staring out the window can be seen. This is one of the moments where the remake's character model improvements are obvious. While the pre-rendered cutscenes in the original The Last of Us hold up quite well, they do show their age in the sense that Ellie looks like an animated character as opposed to a real person. With the game first releasing in 2013, it is impressive that they still look so good, though the step forward in technology is undeniable. Not only does Ellie look more lifelike and closer to her appearance in The Last of Us 2, but these cutscenes are apparently rendered in real time, allowing for perfect transitions from gameplay to cinematics. While there are many great conversations between Joel and Ellie throughout the first game that allow their bond to grow, the moment where Joel teaches Ellie to shoot is an important one. While he does a great job of protecting her throughout the story, even Joel is not untouchable, and Ellie needs to know how to survive on her own. With Joel also needing her to cover him during a fight, he gives her a quick rundown on guns, and the scene provides a close-up look at Joel's character model. While the scene looked great when the game debuted back in 2013, the old Joel model is not as mind-blowing as it once was. Fortunately, Naughty Dog has knocked it out of the park with Joel's updated look, as more detail can be seen on his face than ever before, ensuring that his design is just as realistic as Ellie's. His eyes are reflective and look far more lifelike, and the bags under his eyes are a good sign of what he has been through in his life. His hair is more textured and the wrinkles on his face are distinct, while the shirt having a more cloth-like texture adds a lot of photorealism to the moment. Without a doubt, the darkest point in the original game, Ellie being forced to kill David, is a moment that changed her. After being tricked and tormented by the creepy cannibal, she has to battle him throughout a restaurant, using bottles to distract, stun, and sneak up on him. After avoiding him for long enough and doing enough damage, the boss fight ends with Ellie brutally murdering David with a machete. Joel arrives too late to do the deed for her, with Ellie being forced to change so she can survive in the dangerous world of The Last of Us. While this moment only flashes briefly in the new trailer, it looks incredible. Though many will surely remember the moment where blood splatters on the screen and the building burns around an enraged, crying Ellie, the scene never looked close to as good as it does on PS5. The fire effects and lighting are stellar, and the shot of Ellie crying in Joel's arms shows just how great the facial animation is going to be in the remake. While some fans may have wanted a reimagining of The Last of Us instead of the same exact story, others will likely be happy that the narrative is being left untouched. Given how beloved the game is by fans and critics, a remake adding scenes and changing others could have been very risky. Focusing more on improving the gameplay and giving the game a visual overhaul makes sense, and while the remake's combat has not yet been shown, comparing the updated scenes to the original versions makes it clear just how much better the graphics are. Even though the graphics are improved, I'm not satisfied with it. This Last of Us Part 1 remake doesn't look next-gen, and also some last-gen games such as God of War 4, The Last of Us Part 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, and current cross-gen games like Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, and current-gen games like Demon's Souls Remake and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart looks way better than this remake. I'm disappointed with the visuals of the game, as they have worked on it for 3 years. Anyway, let's get to the other information. Pre-orders are now live ahead of The Last of Us Part 1's release on September 2nd, with bonus supplements to upgrade your skill set and bonus weapon parts your arsenal given to those who do pre-order. It should be noted that the base version of the game costs $70, and every version of the game packages in the Left Behind DLC as well. The next step up is The Last of Us Part 1 Digital Deluxe Edition, which costs $80. The Digital Deluxe Edition gives players a couple of early unlocks, which should make the early hours even easier. Players will be able to unlock these in The Last of Us without this edition, just at a later point. Alongside an increased craft and healing speed, these early unlocks include a 9mm reload speed upgrade, a rifle clip capacity upgrade, explosive arrows, the Dither Punk filter, speedrun mode, and 6 weapon skins, black gold and silver filigree for pistols, rubber tactical and sculpted oak for shotguns, and arctic white and carbon black for the bow. Finally, The Last of Us Part 1 The Firefly Edition is $100 and includes everything in the Digital Deluxe Edition. It also comes with a special steelbook case and the last of US, American Dreams comics 1-4, all of which feature new cover art for this release. The Last of Us Part 1 leak ahead of the Summer Game Fest may have ruined the surprise for many, but that doesn't necessarily take away the excitement for fans. It'll be interesting to see how much the game is improved, and if there are any changes in the coming months or at release. The fandoms are abuzz with excitement about HBO's upcoming Bleak series adaptation of Naughty Dog's Bleak 3-generation post-apocalyptic game, The Last of Us. While the show's premiere still has a bit of a wait ahead of it, it seems that now is deemed an excellent time for a good old-fashioned info dump. Neil Druckmann and the rest of the crew behind HBO's The Last of Us has just released the first solid and official look at Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey as Joel and Ellie, respectively. Unlike the previous teaser image of Joel and Ellie, which them from the back, this shadowy new image reveals the pair in their full glory doing what they do best, hiding from clickers. The moody effect is compounded when one notices the looming clicker in the background, likely dredging up some pulse-pounding memories from the game itself. This is surely an exciting tease for fans of the series, some of whom might have been wondering just how faithful the HBO series was going to be to the original game. But while Druckmann has said that the show would make some tweaks to the story of The Last of Us, it appears as though the visual style will take much more close inspiration from the games. However, that's not the only element from the games making the jump to the small screen. Druckmann also has announced that Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, who voiced Joel and Ellie in the games, will appear in the HBO series. Their roles haven't been revealed just yet, and they obviously won't be abruptly pushing Pascal and Ramsey out of the lead parts, but it will be interesting to see where they show up. However, they aren't the first voice actors from The Last of Us to join HBO's adaptation. Merle Dandridge, who played Marlene in the game, also signed on to reprise her role in the series last year. Given how Dandridge's involvement was confirmed over a year ago and the show's production is scheduled to end shortly, with Druckmann recently finishing work on his own contributions, odds may dictate that Baker and Johnson's roles will be much less substantial than they were in the games. Of course, there's always the chance that they were cast months ago and this was just a purposely delayed announcement on Druckmann's part. But either way, it's nice to have them on board. The Last of Us is well known for having a pretty heavy emotional impact on its players, so the HBO adaptation is sure to continue that trend. Keep those tissues handy, because this adventure is going to delve into several definitions of exquisite pain, and Neil Druckmann also promised that the show will be the best game adaptation to date. The Summer Game Fest began from June 2nd, and one of the most exciting announcements for The Last of Us fans was a standalone multiplayer game set in the franchise's universe. While little is known about the upcoming spin-off game so far, it was revealed that Naughty Dog will share more in 2023. It has almost been 9 years since The Last of Us first released on the PlayStation 3, and 2 years since The Last of Us Part 2 came out on the PlayStation 4. Fans have been very excited since then for a third game in the series, especially with news of a remake of the original game being in development, as well as the upcoming HBO adaptation coming soon. However, Naughty Dog surprised a lot of gamers with the announcement of a brand new The Last of Us standalone installment during the Summer Game Fest. This new The Last of Us game will be a multiplayer title that introduces fans to new characters in an original, unique story. A concept art was shown during the announcement, revealing a huge city in the United States as the main setting, and a couple of new characters, though it wasn't confirmed if these will be the main protagonists of the spin-off or not. While Neil Druckmann, the creative director and writer of The Last of Us games, didn't reveal a lot about this new multiplayer title, he did say that more information about it would be revealed next year, giving fans a lot to look forward to. Upon its release in 2020, The Last of Us 2 promised to deliver a multiplayer game mode soon after the release of the campaign. However, the much-anticipated mode has since been under wraps, with only a few comments from the team in 2021 claiming that it was still in development. During a short time on stage, Druckmann explained that Naughty Dog's ambitions far exceeded what was originally expected, and that led to The Last of Us multiplayer being delayed, but also meant it was going to be much more involved than originally planned. Much like many of Naughty Dog's other titles, The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2 had a heavy focus on the story and provided players with hours of compelling storytelling throughout each title. Even though the games also feature tense, stealth-based combat, the main focal point has always been the story told between firefights. Games that are solely multiplayer often have a hard time balancing story and gameplay, but Naughty Dog's pedigree and dedication show it can successfully combine the two. The success of the original Factions gameplay would easily translate over to a new game, and clearly Naughty Dog wants to do more than simply add a multiplayer mode as it did with The Last of Us. The concept art shared at the Summer Game Fest showed never-before-seen characters equipped with iconic weapons from the series atop a building watching over a firefight. Though it is not clearly stated if these characters will be the new protagonists, it does show Naughty Dog is willing to part ways with old characters and settings to start a new storyline that could better fit within a multiplayer game. Naughty Dog expressed how passionate it is about creating a brand new story that can perfectly be told through a brand new multiplayer experience and will allegedly be just as big and ambitious as its previous single-player games. Fans of the series who were expecting another simple multiplayer mode should be pleasantly surprised to hear how much work and dedication is going into this new standalone title set within the Last of Us universe. With so many projects for The Last of Us being shown off, fans of the thrilling apocalyptic series have a lot to look forward to this year, as well as 2023.
Close calls have we had?
I get into trouble down there. You make every shot count.
I got this.
Hope you know how to use that thing.
I've had some practice.
Capcom just has to keep rolling out reveals through Street Fighter SAXS launch in 2023. Continuing down that path, Capcom has officially confirmed that iconic fighter Guile is confirmed for the roster. Guile was debuted during the opening trailer for Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest. The trailer ran for around 90 seconds and featured everything that Guile fans would want to see. That includes Guile's big flat-top haircut, his high kick, Sonic Boom, Sonic Hurricane critical art, and even the return of his classic airfield stage from Street Fighter II, though it's now set on an aircraft carrier. For Guile fans through the years, this is the character that they expect. While much about the Street Fighter VI version of Guile will be familiar to Street Fighter fans, there are plenty of changes, too. Guile's new look is the first change fans will notice. Instead of his camo Air Force outfit, Guile's got a pair of Air Force overalls on over a gray hoodie with its arms cut off. He's also sporting a goatee, fitting his new family man demeanor. Guile's kit has also been updated, as well. One way Guile's changed that Capcom is calling attention to is how his Sonic Blade V-skill from Street Fighter V is now a special move, though it's still able to be combined into a two-hit projectile when combined with Sonic Boom. Guile also has 3 super arts to choose from. The Sonic Hurricane returns from Street Fighter Alpha 3, Street Fighter V Solid Puncher V-Trigger I returns in a new form, and lastly, the new Crossfire Somersault is a massive finisher that launches opponents into the air and ends them with a nasty somersault kick. As exciting as it is to see Guile in action, his reveal isn't necessarily a huge surprise. During Street Fighter SAXS reveal, there were several teasers hidden throughout for future character reveals. Guile was in one of those teasers facing off against Cammy, who has yet to be revealed herself. Of course, there's also been a near-complete roster leak for Street Fighter VI, too. It may not have been a surprise, but it was exciting nonetheless. Capcom is clearly interested in making some big strides with the Street Fighter IP, as shown by Street Fighter SAXS new drive system, the open-world exploration, and a variety of other items. At the same time, it has also been confirmed that Capcom is also looking into the game's underlying technology. This will, then, lead to the introduction of a full and comprehensive crossplay feature, allowing players to match with one another no matter the platform they're playing on. When it comes to explaining rollback netcode in practice, it's a way of dealing with excessive latency in fighting games. In broad, simple terms, rollback netcode allows the game to alleviate latency concerns by predicting what the opponent might do next, to deliver a substantially improved gameplay experience to everyone involved. The feature is widely regarded as a must-have for modern fighting games, and the fact that Capcom is opting into it, too, is good news for the fighting game community. Overall, most of the news coming out about SF6 implies that Capcom has got a firm grasp of what it wants to do with the franchise. On top of interesting mechanical novelties, player expression is getting major improvements as well, with features such as Street Fighter SAXS Game Face opening up all the characters' visual flexibility than was present ever before. Of course, it may also be worth pointing out that much of the currently available information about Capcom's new Street Fighter had previously been leaked. In fact, Capcom acknowledged the Street Fighter 6 leaks and thanked its community for all the positive reactions and support. To that end, the community now has a decidedly positive view of the game, and this is set to continue being the case if Capcom successfully delivers on all of its promises. Since its reveal last year, I have been curious to learn more about the retro-inspired Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Developed by Tribute Games alongside .inu, Shredder's Revenge aims to tap into that classic gameplay nostalgia with its pixel graphics, side-scrolling action made popular by Konami in the 90s. There's been plenty of details shared in the years since its announcement, including an expanded roster that includes April O'Neil and Master Splinter. However, one important detail that has remained elusive has been a release date. Recently, there have been plenty of teases as to when a potential release date for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge could arrive. With Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest taking place today, many were hoping for a potential reveal, and sure enough, fans were shown a brand new trailer with a host of new details and exciting reveals. The newest trailer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge not only showed off new gameplay, but also revealed the playable roster is growing even bigger. Alongside the four Turtles, April, and Splinter, the masked Casey Jones is also available to rough up some foot soldiers. Donning his iconic old-school hockey mask and black hair, Jones hits his enemies incredibly hard with smash attacks, baseball bat and hockey stick strikes, and super moves that sees him whirl around in a screen-clearing tornado. Arnold Bernard Casey Jones is a character from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics and has also appeared in a number of animated series and films. He's typically portrayed as the main love interest for April and has already featured in a few of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video games, including titles like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Tournament Fighters. Like the Turtles, Casey is a crime-fighting vigilante who prowls the streets looking for baddies to take down. He tends to carry his weapons in a golf bag that he slings over his shoulder, which usually includes ice hockey sticks, golf clubs, and baseball bats. To maintain his anonymity, Casey wears a hockey mask, which can make him seem more like something out of a horror film than a benevolent hero. Casey seems to be sporting his classic look in TMNT Shredder's Revenge, complete with motorcycle gloves and sweatpants. As the trailer shows, his animation and outfit change slightly depending on what weapon he's using, with hats and other accessories appearing to suit his sporting equipment of choice. In addition to Casey, players will be able to choose between Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, Raphael, April, and Master Splinter as they fight Shredder and a variety of adversaries throughout New York City and beyond. With both the arcade and story mode, TMNT Shredder's Revenge is really tapping into that 80s and 90s nostalgia, and the retro look and feel of the game will help set it apart from other recent releases. The newest trailer shown during Summer Game Fest also revealed the release date, and luckily fans don't have long to wait before they can cowabunga their way through the game and finally show the Foot Clan who's boss. The trailer also showcased new game details including up to 6-player co-op, which is about as chaotic as it sounds. However, the end of the trailer also confirmed the one thing most fans have been waiting for, a release date. As the recent rumors have speculated, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge launches in full next week on June 16, 2022. For years there was never anything quite like Dead Space, a survival horror series that let players dismember space zombies with glorious detail and gory precision. That's changing with the upcoming game, the Callisto Protocol, made by many of the same developers to be a spiritual sequel to Dead Space, and its screenshots certainly made fans excited. Now players have even more to sink their teeth into as the Callisto Protocol reveals more details of what players can expect. At Summer Game Fest, players were treated to a pair of trailers for the game. One of these showed off set pieces and some story beats, while the other is a full-on gameplay trailer. The gameplay starts with the player character at what is, presumably, near the start of the game, as they are largely unarmored. A brief hologram reveals a pair of doctors trying and failing to save a zombified patient before it breaks free and attacks everyone in the room. A corpse on the floor quickly becomes the least of the player's worries as a space zombie bursts through a door. Mirroring some of the concept art of the Callisto protocol, it gets briefly stopped by the new gravity gun type tool and then torn apart by 5 bullets. Unfortunately, another pestilent menace drops from the ceiling, giving the player no time to reload. The resulting up-close fight is particularly brutal before the zombie gets pushed back and finished with a headshot. There's a lot to love in that first part alone, including the way the ammo counter on the gun glows red when it has only 1 shot left. The atmosphere strikes an appropriate mix of helpless terror and adrenaline-filled action. The vindictiveness with which the player character smashes the corpse afterward is gratifying as well, and likely reflects how players will feel after being ambushed a few times. It also shows off the emphasis on melee combat in the Callisto protocol, which will hopefully help it stand apart from its Dead Space roots a bit. The last part of the trailer takes place later on, with a more armed and armored protagonist. It features a fight in a dark room, and the protagonist's new gun does not save him from a brutal death via some heavy machinery. Players have seen a couple of the firearms that will be available in the Callisto protocol, which look fairly similar to those implemented into Dead Space as they concentrate on splitting limbs and dismembering biophages. Today's new gameplay footage at Summer Game Fest showed a brief look at a new weapon called the Grip, which behaves similarly to Dead Space's Kinesis, allowing players to lift and throw enemies. While the similarities continue, the Callisto protocol's last resort melee encounters are perhaps what differentiates the two IPs the most. The Callisto protocol's recent cinematic trailer depicted protagonist Jacob Lee with a baton that holds some sort of stun charge. In today's brief reveal of raw, unedited gameplay footage, fans are offered a glimpse at how the baton looks in action. Simple swings of the baton can mean the difference between Jacob being killed or not as an enemy closes the distance or if players are interrupted while trying to manually reload a firearm, which is already a monumental change from Dead Space. Dead Space's Isaac Clarke can wildly swing his arms and stomp on corpses and necromorphs, but melee is never advised in Dead Space's practical combat encounters because necromorphs are much quicker and Isaac's haymakers are ineffective against them. Moreover, the baton is not the only useful mechanic players will have at their disposal if enemies draw closer and ammunition is low. In Dead Space, proper distancing is incredibly important, and while the player can sprint away to gain more distance, it is oftentimes more efficient to slice away at their gangly limbs to render them incapacitated. In the Callisto protocol, it seems as if players will have a dedicated evasion mechanic where they can sidestep incoming melee attacks. This will surely be an instrumental mechanic for players to use and may get them out of particularly troubling encounters that they would otherwise be killed in. It is uncertain how exploitable this dodge mechanic will be, such as if players can sidestep continuously to avoid attacks, or if it is a well-timed skill similar to a parry or counter. This evasion technique, in tandem with Jacob's stun baton, make for an already comprehensive melee strategy that Dead Space never had. Dead Space lacks this sort of melee approach due to the fact that it wished to perpetuate an isolated survival horror atmosphere where Isaac is not a battle-ready soldier, but a lowly engineer. The Callisto protocol's Jacob already looks much more equipped and prepared for combat than Isaac, which will undoubtedly make it more of an action horror title, but it also looks as if players will not always have these tools and armaments on them, making the combat more dynamic. Either way, this is a great way for the Callisto protocol to separate itself from Dead Space and offer fans new mechanics to reinvent the action horror genre. Dead Space is known for how visceral and grisly its enemies in combat are. Encounters against necromorphs of any kind are not for the faint of heart. Dismemberment, decapitation, and impalement are all strategies that players consider when they see a particular enemy, and result in gory animations that can befall both the player and necromorphs. In the Callisto protocol, it does not seem as if dismemberment is a critical technique that players must apply to each enemy. However, combat does appear similar, and appendages can be cleaved and blown to a pulp with armaments that perform similarly to Dead Space's plasma cutter. The Callisto protocol does not shy away from these inspirations, and it may be to its benefit since it comes from Dead Space's co-creator. The Callisto protocol on next-gen hardware will be able to showcase a reimagined vision for science fiction body horror, and just in time before the highly anticipated remake of Dead Space releases only a month later. Biophages are already immaculately designed, and their dismemberment looks as polished as fans could expect them to on next-gen as well. That said, enemies are not the only thing that can be demolished and vanquished in bloody style. Dead Space's Isaac Clarke is also subjected to extensive bodily horrors in creative death animations. Isaac's death animations from Dead Space are incredibly graphic, yet satisfying and immersively horrific. In Zero Gravity, Isaac's character model will float with his limbs and head instantaneously dismembered by a lurker, leaving a floating torso in its wake. Just like in Dead Space, players will be able to exploit the Callisto Protocol's use of environmental hazards to make quick work of enemies. However, these environmental hazards are also perilous to the player. In the extended Callisto Protocol gameplay footage that also revealed the grip gravity gun, Jacob is backed into a corner where some sort of turbine is active, and close contact with it results in a grisly death animation that is amplified further on next-gen hardware. Jacob's arm is stuck in the mechanism and, as he is gradually pulled in further, players can see Josh Duhamel's facial animations wince and panic in a close-up shot before his head erupts and his body is churned into spurts of blood and flesh before the footage fades to black. There are sure to be many more instances of environmental hazards or other pitfalls that players need to avoid, lest they suffer some tragic and horrific death animation. Of course, with all the attention and detail put into these incredible death animations, fans who are particularly excited about the Callisto Protocol's gratuitous gore may actually want to die to these hazards once or twice to fully appreciate it. This one instance of Jacob being pulverized is a great demonstration for how other deaths may be reflected and how facial animations can be used to further sell the animations with terror in his expressions. When the Callisto Protocol release date rolls around later this year, players will be able to check it out across PC, PlayStation, and Xbox consoles, but there will be some features exclusive to the PS5 version of the game. They may still be what convinces survival horror fans to pick up the PS5 version of the game over the other ones available. It's been confirmed that the Callisto Protocol will be taking full advantage of the PlayStation 5's DualSense controller. Players will feel the DualSense controller's haptic feedback kick when attacking the Callisto Protocol monsters with protagonist Jacob's stun baton, as detailed in a recent PlayStation blog post. There will be other situations where players are able to feel what's happening in the game through the DualSense, and it should go a long way in heightening the experience. It's long been believed that the DualSense controller could be great for horror games, and one of the first real tests of that will be when the Callisto Protocol launches later this year. Besides taking advantage of the DualSense controller's unique features, the Callisto Protocol will also benefit from the console's use of 3D audio. Overall, it sounds like the definitive way to experience the game will be on PS5, but it should be a solid experience regardless of one's platform of choice. Horror game fans have gotten a lot more looks at the Callisto Protocol as of late. During the latest PlayStation State of Play, fans were treated to a new trailer setting up the game's story and tone. And then at Summer Game Fest, raw Callisto Protocol gameplay footage was shown off for the first time, showing that the game certainly has a lot in common with Dead Space, but is perhaps taking things in an even more brutal, gorier direction. Fans will have to find out for themselves once the Callisto Protocol launches later this year. The Summer Game Fest has had some very exciting reveals for fans of horror games. Whether it was a gory updated trailer for the Callisto effect or the reveal of sci-fi horror title Routine, there was something for everyone. Bloober Team, the rumored developer of a remake of Silent Hill 2, wasn't one to be left out. The team took the opportunity to unveil the latest game in the Layers of Fear franchise. Coming in 2023 is Bloober's biggest horror game yet, Layers of Fears. Like prior Layers of Fear titles, Layers of Fears is a first-person horror title where we will explore tense, increasingly frightening settings. Storytelling will be focused on environmental elements, so players pick up an understanding of what's happening as they explore through visual and auditory design elements. Layers of Fear's announcement trailer alone will offer a deeper glimpse at the game's cast of characters than is comfortable. The announcement of Layers of Fears included the confirmation that the new horror game is being built on Unreal Engine 5. Fittingly, the announcement trailer showed exactly what Unreal Engine 5 means for the game. The trailer featured some of the most vivid nightmarescapes the Layers of Fear series has ever seen. Psychedelic settings including blazing infernos, endless hallways, and the blending of the unreal and real show how Bloober's talents have grown tremendously over the years. During Tokyo Game Show 2021, Bloober Team announced a new game simply titled Layers of Fear New Project. At the time of its announcement, Bloober Team revealed that the game had not yet received an official title, however it is planned to release in 2022. Details on the game have since been scarce outside of confirmation that the game will come to PS5 and will utilize Epic's Unreal Engine 5. Last year, Bloober Team announced a partnership with Konami that would see the studio jointly develop projects with the Japanese publisher. This added further speculation regarding the studio's involvement in a possible new Silent Hill game, which was just recently claimed to be a Silent Hill 2 remake. While the rumors surrounding Silent Hill are hard to avoid, it seems Bloober Team has other plans for the time being.
Now, I break free.
The reveal trailer for Fort Solis debuted during Summer Games Fest 2022, and it features heavy-hitting actors in the lead roles. Troy Baker and Roger Clark play characters that are members of a Martian mining crew that must survive being on their own as communications with Earth are cut off. The trailer's dark and ominous tone sets the stage for a space survival horror experience akin to some movies in the same vein. After a Martian sandstorm damages Fort Solis, it will be up to Wyatt Taylor and Jack Leary to keep the facility running. The timing couldn't be worse for the team as Earth and Mars are at the farthest point from each other in the solar system and help won't arrive for months at best. The trailer teases that the game will explore some mystery elements and if the stranded crew can work together long enough to survive. The reveal trailer gave no hints at what gameplay looks like, but the game is described as being a third-person tight thriller and promises top-notch graphics from the Fallen Leaf developers using Unreal 5 engine. The game will be one of Roger Clark's first big projects after his role as Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2 shot his fame to new levels. Troy Baker solidifies his stake as arguably one of the busiest actors in the video game space, and the vibe of Fort Solis looks to be drawing on his skills as a dramatic actor. In an interview with Jeff Keighley after the trailer reveal, Troy Baker likened the experience of the game to a mix between Dead Space and Duncan Jones' 2009 film Moon. The project has garnered interest since Troy Baker and Roger Clark posed together in motion capture equipment. Fallen Leaf Studios is an independent developer looking for success with an ambitious first game. With 2 strong actors and many more to be announced later, this Summer Game Fest reveal for Fort Solis could be the start of a great journey for a new studio and new IP. Overall, the first look at Fort Solis feels like The Martian but with more thriller and mystery elements and less ado about the science of surviving on Mars. With earlier Unreal 5 engine demos showing off nearly uncanny realistic environments, it's up to the small European studio to follow through to the best of its abilities ahead of its 2023 launch. It has been a long time since the spotlight shined so prominently on sci-fi and horror games as it did at Summer Game Fest 2022. In recent years, the two genres have taken a back seat to battle royales, expansive RPGs, and narrative-heavy action games as the talking points of prominent gaming showcases. However, at Summer Game Fest 2022, horror and sci-fi came together and dominated all corners of the 2-hour-long presentation. I'm glad that more survival horror games are getting mainstream attention, but the Summer Game Fest showcase as a whole is dogshit. Terrible pacing, poor showcases for most of the games, no big surprises, The Rock showing up with an energy drink promotion which was unnecessary and idiotic. I don't care about no energy drinks, and I was pissed off seeing them promoting this bullshit on a gaming presentation showcase. I'll give it a 0.5 out of 10. The final thing I'm going to cover from the showcase is the demo from COD Modern Warfare 2. This past week Activision unveiled the first gameplay for the next Call of Duty game release, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Infinity Ward's newest game, what it's described as the studio's magnum opus, is a reimagining of the 2009 sequel with even loftier ambition than prior. Now Activision is back with a new trailer for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 at Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest. The new trailer features gameplay from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's campaign. The Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 stage is named Dark Water, and the new trailer offers over 7 minutes of gameplay from the single-player level. The mission at hand has Task Force 141 attempting an incursion on an oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico. Cargo on the rig is said to store missiles with the potential to spark a global conflict. Things, obviously, don't go to plan, leading to a high-stakes change in plan forcing Task Force 141 to chase a dangerous cargo ship into the roiling ocean and fog. The trailer ends with a cliffhanger, naturally. The boat the player is on manages to ride a wave directly onto the deck of the escaping cargo boat. The player awakens to shipping containers, crates, equipment, and soldiers shifting back and forth on deck due to the increasingly dangerous waters of the ocean. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's campaign aims to create new set-piece encounters that the original game didn't have. Some fans may question whether the Dark Waters campaign level captures the bombastic claims of Infinity Ward. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's remake is certainly visually and technically impressive, but the original game delivered shocking content like the controversial No Russian stage. No Russian is already confirmed to not be returning in Infinity Ward's remake, but it just goes to show that Infinity Ward has its work cut out for itself to make the new Modern Warfare 2 campaign impress. As previously confirmed, Task Force 141 is packed with some of the Modern Warfare series' most familiar faces. Call of Duty fans may recognize Soap and Ghost in the new trailer, but should also acknowledge new character Alejandro Vargas of the Mexican Special Forces. Considering the positive reception of 2019's Modern Warfare, it is fair to say that news of a sequel has long been anticipated and met with joy by many fans of the franchise. Thankfully, fans have already been provided with a release date for the game, with the recent reveal trailer for Modern Warfare 2 also giving a more intimate insight as to some of the finer details regarding the title. It has been suggested that Modern Warfare 2 is set to run on a brand new game engine, with it as being safe to assume that it will take inspiration from the same visceral IW engine that was used in 2019's Modern Warfare, with a focus on sharp fidelity and accurate sound design. It has additionally been rumored that Modern Warfare 2 will launch alongside a sequel to the massively popular Call of Duty Battle Royale Warzone. If the game is set to launch alongside Warzone 2, it would be a clear statement of intent from Activision and Infinity Ward as to the intended scale and longevity of Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2's campaign will predictably build upon that of its predecessor, with Captain Price and Gaz reprising their roles from 2019's Modern Warfare. It is confirmed that MW2's campaign will largely concern the elite Task Force 141, with iconic characters Soap and Ghost making their reboot campaign debuts. Even from the only limited scope of Modern Warfare 2's upcoming campaign that fans were able to see from the recent MW2 reveal trailer, it is clear to see the influence that is being taken from the original games. Veteran fans of the franchise were quick to note overt similarities from both the original Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, with major elements of the plots of both games seemingly being combined for the upcoming reboot. From the reveal trailer, fans saw members of Task Force 141 covertly storming an oil rig, in a mission that looks to be extremely similar to the iconic Modern Warfare 2 mission The Only Easy Day Was Yesterday. While this original mission saw the player rescuing hostages aboard the oil rig, recent Modern Warfare 2 game footage from Summer Games Fest gave wider context to the new mission, showing that it is actually more in line with the story of Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare. Within the gameplay footage, it is clear that Task Force 141 are looking for a nuclear warhead aboard the oil rig, with the controls being on a nearby cargo ship. On the fly, the team decide to then pursue and board the imposing ship, seamlessly transferring into a reimagining of the COD 4 mission Crew Expendable, which practically has the exact same premise. This typifies how the upcoming Modern Warfare 2 is aiming to blend the campaigns of these two franchise-defining prior titles, while maintaining its own identity. 2019's Modern Warfare effectively told its own unique plot with revived characters, and now the upcoming Modern Warfare 2 has the plots of the first two titles of the original trilogy to take inspiration from. Longtime fans of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare series will remember Task Force 141 pretty vividly. Introduced in Call of Duty for Modern Warfare's epilogue mission, Mile High Club, Task Force 141 has been a mainstay of the Modern Warfare franchise ever since, appearing in both Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3. While Task Force 141 were the central characters of the series, only Captain Price and Russian ally Nikolai made the cut for 2019's Modern Warfare, which acted as a reboot for the entire series. However, during the post-credits scene of the game's campaign, Captain Price can be seen perusing some classified files, all while discussing his desire to create a new team of special operatives. Eagle-eyed fans will have spotted a few familiar names, and in the last two trailers, it's been confirmed that Modern Warfare 2 is in fact bringing back some of Call of Duty's most beloved characters. Showcased one by one in suitably dramatic fashion, Modern Warfare 2's trailers revealed that John Soap McTavish, Kyle Gazdarek, Simon Ghost Riley, and Captain Price are all returning to the franchise that made them household names. While Captain Price played a central role in 2019's Modern Warfare, the rest of the task force hasn't been seen properly since 2011's Modern Warfare 3. 2022's Modern Warfare 2 is also set to introduce a new member to the task force. Named Alejandro Vargas, this Mexican Special Forces operative is a brand new character to the franchise. While he may not have the same brand recognition as the rest of the crew, Vargas' presence on the team serves to show fans that this Modern Warfare 2 is standing apart from its 2009 counterpart. Based on the footage released so far, it seems as though Task Force 141 will once again be doing what they're best at, facing insurmountable odds and coming out on top. Even since its very first entry, Call of Duty has always had a team aspect, but it's never taken center stage quite like this before. Though Modern Warfare 2's visuals and technical prowess has been at the forefront of the recently released trailers, the game's characters have very much been the main focus of its marketing. It seems as though Infinity Ward really wants to push this concept of teamwork and brotherhood, even going as far as to include the tagline, "The ultimate weapon is team" at the end of the game's first trailer. I like the slow-paced gameplay I saw from this demo, and I'll buy it. We have more showcases to look forward to this month. We have the Xbox and Bethesda Games Showcase today, a Capcom Showcase tomorrow, a Square Enix Showcase on the 16th, and maybe a God of War Ragnarok State of Play at the end of the month. So, I'm looking forward to these showcases, and I'll cover every news here. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.
Pre-order now and get early access to the